Stand Tall by Joan Bauer, Chapter 10. Choose how you die, Sully said. Shark attack, alien abduction, or, he shuddered, ballroom dancing. It was the first night of ballroom dance class. Sully, Eli, and Tree were standing behind the big bush near the entrance to the Y. From the front, Sully and Eli couldn't be seen. Tree poked out like a giraffe in a necktie. Not dancing, said Eli, who'd offered his parents half of his $123 life savings if he didn't have to take the class. Maybe an alien, Tree said. Sully loosened his tie. His mother had yanked it tight like a noose. I'd take the shark, but I'd need to have a heart attack first. Cars were pulling up to the entrance. Girls in dresses got out excitedly. Boys in badly fitting suits slumped in misery toward the front door. It could be worse, Sully said. We could be dead. We could all just not go, Eli suggested. Who'd know? Okay, said a familiar, tough voice from behind. You guys going in or what? 'Cause the sooner we get started, the sooner it's going to be over. Those were Aunt Peach's parting words to me. Tree turned around, and there was Sophie, looking very pretty in a purple dress, her hair done up in a barrette, and her black eyes flashing total attitude, which is exactly what you'd want in a dance partner. Coach Glimmer's cousin Sheila looked at the 87 7th and 8th graders assembled in the gym of the YMCA. Her teacher's heart fluttered with care for her students. She wanted to become a trusted person in their lives, a teacher not just of the foxtrot, the waltz, and the tango, but a role model of enduring memory. But Sheila knew that the 87 7th and 8th graders could turn on her at any moment. So she stood on the center court and shouted, "I'm the law in this room. That means what I say goes. If you disobey, you're out, and I keep your parents' money. Do we understand each other?" 87 heads nodded grimly. Ballroom dancing can be one of the most fun things you'll ever do. For that to happen, you have to listen like your life depended on it. Are you still with me? They were. We begin dancing like we begin most new things, by taking a risk. I'm going to demonstrate a simple step that will get you through most wedding receptions. This is as easy as life gets. Watch. Right foot forward, left foot matches. Right foot moves back, and left detaches. You try. The fighting pit bulls looked at one another glumly. Tree glanced over at Sophie, who was looking at the ceiling. Right foot forward, left foot matches. Right moves back, and left detaches. No one got it right. They moved into dance circles. Sheila's Romanian dance partner, Lazar, who swayed constantly even when there wasn't music playing, worked with the boys. Okay now, young mens. Lazar tossed his head, swaying. I'm going to teach you how, to go with it. Lazar did a few slow steps. You see from that, just move and go with it. Okay, mens, let's slide. The pit bulls were particularly bad at sliding. The evening went downhill. Sully and Eli were sticking their fingers down their throats, pretending to vomit. We're going to put some of these steps together. Partner time. The popular boys raced for Amber and her friends. Sully said he was sick. Eli said he had to get a bucket for Sully. Tree hoped that dancing with someone would be better than dancing alone. He walked slowly up to Sophie, who was studying the floor, cleared his throat, waited. She looked up. Well, I'm here, Tree said. And? I was going to ask you to, he looked around. Dance. You need to say the words. Would you like to dance? I would, Tree said. No, you ask me. Right. Would you like to dance? She took his hand, smiled bright. I'd be delighted, and I'm not just saying that. They walked onto the middle of the floor. Tree was absolutely the tallest person in the room. Lazar and Coach Glummer's cousin Sheila locked into position, which seemed easier for shorter people. Good posture, shouted Sheila. If you get lost, just watch me and Lazar. Tree bent down to reach Sophie's waist. Her head came up to his chest. He took her hand gently, didn't want to squish it. He wasn't sure his left foot could detach at this angle. He could either dance or have good posture, not both. Sophie laughed. She had a good laugh, solid, not tinkling. You look like you're at a funeral. I'm sorry. Aunt Peach dragged me here by my nose hairs, but it's not as bad as I thought. Tree nodded. Dumb music started playing. Tree took the deepest breath of his life and forgot everything he'd been practicing for the last 90 minutes. Sophie was right there with him, messing up. Tree had no idea how this would help him in basketball or in years to come, but it sure was nice to be so close to Sophie. It's weird here now, huh? Tree took his tie off and said it to Curtis, who was lying on the couch at Dad's with an empty pizza carton over his face. I mean, with Mom and Dad and everything. It's weird, Curtis agreed, not moving the carton. Tree flopped into the chair. I'm here all the time. Tree wanted to make this point. He felt like a soldier that had been fighting a battle on his own, just waiting for fresh troops to come in and give him a hand. Sometimes I'm not sure what to think. I'm not either. Curtis took the carton off his face, looked inside, ate the last bit of cheese. We went to Mom's house tonight, me and Larry. Larry called it Munchkinland. Tree nodded. We helped her trim the tree. Curtis sighed. She told the ornament stories. This one we got on that Christmas farm in Iowa. This one we got in Bermuda. He didn't mention it was like being at a funeral, remembering the dead. Didn't tell Tree the next part either. How Mom kept asking them, "Are you all right? What do you say?" "No," Curtis had said finally. "I'm not. I'll be all right, but this is hard, Mom." "Why did you buy this house?" Larry asked her. "It was the only one I could afford." "Why did you get this dog?" Larry wouldn't let up. "Because I wanted company. You're blaming me for this divorce, and that's not fair." Tree took his shoes off, studied his big toe sticking out of his sock, looked at Curtis. "Why do you think they got divorced?" Curtis crushed the pizza carton. He wanted to get back to school, where things seemed normal. Tree looked kind of pitiful to him. As the oldest, he'd seen and heard more of the fights. The ones about his father's job were always loud. "Why," Mom would shout at Dad, "are you content just running a sporting goods store? You have so many gifts that you never developed." "I like sports. That's not an explanation." "Not everything in life has to have an explanation." She would storm off saying that she wasn't going to just settle for whatever came. She was going to improve herself. "Go for it," Dad would yell. The next morning they would be in the kitchen with faces like cement. Curtis sighed. "I don't know how it happened. They just changed. They stopped doing things together that they used to do. They stopped laughing. They began to have really different lives. Dad worked mostly. Mom worked, went to school, and rearranged the furniture." Tree half laughed. "Remember that time Dad came home and sat where his brown chair had always been and fell and started shouting? I thought he was going to punch a hole in the wall. And then I'd met him at the door when he'd come home and tell him if Mom had changed stuff around while he was gone." Curtis nodded. "You were always good at things like that." They looked at the scrunched up pizza box. "Do you think," Tree asked, "they'll change their minds? I mean, if Dad learned to understand her more, they could get back together maybe. It's not like they hate each other." "I don't know, Tree Man. I don't think so. I wish they'd waited till I was in college." Curtis smiled. "They might have killed each other by then." "Do you know the secret to fighting a war?" Grandpa asked Tree the question as they were folding the laundry. Grandpa always dove deep doing laundry. Tree didn't know. "You've got to hold on to the things you know to be true. Set your mind to a higher place and fight like a dog to keep it there. War can be so fierce. You can forget the good, forget what you're about in this world, what's really important. There's always going to be somebody who wants to try to make you forget it. Don't let them." Tree wasn't sure how you do that in 7th grade. He folded a towel and remembered the day his mom moved out. August 12th, a bright sunny day, a day where you wouldn't think anything bad could happen. He'd just come back from helping her move. There in the dryer was a full load of her clothes she'd forgotten to take. He gathered the clothes in his arms, started up the basement steps, couldn't handle it. He dropped the pile and ran into his bedroom crying. A knock on Tree's bedroom door. He was madly drying his face with his sleeve. Grandpa came in. "You okay?" "Yeah." "Convince me." Tree told him about the clothes. "I would have cried too if I'd seen that." He limped over. His leg was so bad. Sat on the bed. "It's the things we don't expect that just rip the scab off. She was supposed to pack everything. She meant to. It's been a hard day. People do all kinds of things they wouldn't normally do when they're fighting each other. I'll help you fold that laundry. Then you call her. Let her know it's here." Tree walked to the basement steps, gathered up the clothes. His mother had used fabric softener. Her yellow robe was soft and smelled nice. He half buried his nose in it like Bradley snuggled his old towel. He lugged the laundry to his room. He and Grandpa folded each piece like it had cost a fortune. Tree called Mom at her new house, and she started crying. She'd come over and get it, she'd said. She hadn't meant to leave it. Tree hoped he wouldn't think about this every time he did the laundry. It's tough around here now, I know. Grandpa held up 5 unmatched socks, looked in the hamper for the others. We've all lost a piece of ourselves. War does that. It blows things up and leaves an empty place where something important used to be. Is that how you feel about your leg, Grandpa? Yep. Is that how you feel about your mom and dad? Tree looked down. Kind of. I'll tell you something about empty places. They don't get filled in right away. You've got to look at them straight on, see what's still standing. Concentrate on what you've got as much as you can. Grandpa dug around the hamper, couldn't find the missing socks. He started laughing. I don't need a pair of socks, I just need one. Doing the laundry gets easier when you're not so particular. Tree laughed, too. You've got to love a man who can teach you to laugh at war.